A lot of times when thinking about disc golf form, we think a lot about what we're doing with our throwing arm. We think about power pocket, release point, grip, and all that stuff. But there's actually a lot of power that a lot of people overlook that can be found in your off arm. Now I'm gonna try and keep using throwing arm and off arm, but I'm a righty. So if I say right arm and left arm, I don't mean to, so I guess excuse my right-handed privilege. So I was just looking at our channel statistics, and it turns out that 70% of you aren't even subscribed. You know what's gonna happen, right? If you're not subscribed, you might miss a video. And if your friends don't miss that video, they'll get better than you, and then it'll be your own fault when you have the worst tag. Can't let that happen. Subscribe. I read on the internet that Newton's third law is for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. And I'm sure it's a lot more complicated than that, but effectively, if you're pushing something one direction, you're also pushing another direction. So if you're pushing your car one direction, you're pushing the ground another direction. If we're pushing the disc forward out of our hand, we're pushing back against something. Now, some of that something is our lateral weight shift, but also some of that something is the rotation in our shoulders. Now, it would be intuitive to say that if you want more power out of your rotation, you need to rotate faster. But if you remember from the first episode, a lot of times when you rotate too fast, you end up with your arm way out here and the disc is behind you and your arm doesn't curl and you don't get any of that snap, like the curling and uncurling motion. And there's just a lot of problems that happen if you just rotate too fast. So if rotating fast isn't the answer, what is? And the answer is driving the rotation, giving the rotation better leverage. To go back to the car analogy, trying to rotate just as fast as you can is like trying to push your car with roller skates on. Yeah, you can go really fast, but there's nothing there driving it. There's nothing driving your power, it's just fast. Whereas using your off arm to power your rotation and get more power behind your rotation rather than just speed is kind of like changing your shoes to new ones that have really good grip, and then you can actually, you're not pushing it any faster, but you're going to be a lot more effective at pushing it because it's going to have more power behind it. I think that's the best way to describe it. If you come up with a better way, let me know down in the comments, but I'll stop being boring now, hopefully. So how can you drive your rotation rather than just focusing on rotating faster? I've said rotating so much this episode. Part of the answer is your left arm. If you'll watch most pros as they throw in slow motion, they'll start with their arm kind of wide up here, and then as they throw, they bring it in, kind of in front of them, and that little bit of swing from their off arm. See, if I don't do anything else, but I just move my left arm like that, it rotates my torso a little bit. That's the force that they're looking for. And if you apply that force at just the right time in your throw, it'll be the perfect leverage for your arm and your shoulders to push back against to send the disc even further. So practically, how do you do this? Well, what I usually teach people to do is kind of lift their arm as they reach back. Most people, it kind of naturally goes up. You don't really want to bring it behind you too much, but like out or up is kind of okay. And then as you throw, I teach to move your hand to the inside of your off leg. And what that does, your back leg, and what that does is it kind of compresses your shoulders a little bit. It makes you swing your arm forward and it lets it drive that rotation. But the thing is, the timing on this is really, really hard. You know, comedians always say that the most important part to a good joke is timing. Now, the reason why this motion is so hard to time is because relative to the rest of our bodies, our arms don't weigh that much. Okay, some people's arms weigh much more than mine because muscles, but still relative to the rest of the body, usually arms are all relatively light. And so there's not that much weight here. So you see right here, even as I just did that, if I use my arm to drive my rotation, my arm stops moving pretty quickly. If I had like a 25-pound weight in my hand, I have my disc golf bag. Okay, maybe this will work, maybe it won't. But if I use my disc golf bag, yeah, then it keeps going forward. But so the timing is a lot more lax if you just carry your disc golf bag in your off arm the whole time. That'll really drive your rotation. Messes up everything else though, so probably not. But anyway, the point is, because our arms don't weigh very much, the timing is really specific. Now, the problem with disc golf and talking about timing is that everything kind of happens at once. It's not like there's a sequence of events that happens and when everything's supposed to be, like you can write down milliseconds after each thing when every muscle is supposed to fire. It's kind of just a fluid motion all at once. But in general, you want your off arm to be rotating forwards right as the disc kind of gets into the power pocket. That'll really help provide that leverage for your shoulders to push against right as you need it the most, right at the end of your release point. In the first one of these videos that I did, I don't know if you noticed, but I got some like really cool slow motion footage of Eric Oakley and Chris Clemens from overhead as they're throwing. So let's watch their off arm as they use it to drive their rotation. Now, the astute among you may have noticed that they don't really do what I've been talking about here. You know, lift your arm up and bring it forward, keep everything tight so you angular momentum, rotate, all that stuff. Their arm's kind of out here. Not really doing what I've been talking about, but I can't explain it. So earlier I was demonstrating what your off arm does, and I started with it up here and brought it forward, and that kind of made my shoulders turn a little bit. Like without even really trying, it just drives the rotation a little bit. Thing is, that's not the only way to do it. You can also drive your rotation with starting your arm in front of you and then moving it backwards, almost like a swimming kind of move. Now this was really confusing to me, so there's an article that I'll link down in the description talking about this, but effectively what you're doing is using the same weight and just rather than moving it forwards and stopping, you're moving it backwards. And so it's the same effective motion of driving your shoulders forward, just in a different way. Now, personally, I think the timing is a lot harder. I think it can throw off balance a little bit more, but obviously it works for Eric and Chris, so maybe give it a shot for yourself. But if you've not really thought about how you're using your off arm as you're throwing, I would recommend starting out with using the hand to the inside of the leg thing right as you're getting into the power pocket. And I think you'll be surprised at how much power you can add. Before you go out and try this on your own, it's important to know that this is not like a big, strong grr motion. It's not like doing this as hard as you can is going to add distance to your drive. It's more about the fact that it's moving than it moving super quickly. So just using that to drive your rotation is a lot more important than doing it super strong. There's really no part of the throw that's grr, big, strong. It's just a smooth motion. Try to make sure that the timing is what you're focusing on and getting it to feel as smooth as possible. Also, when doing this, if you're struggling with rounding, it can be really easy to end up with the disc back here. So just watch out for that. Make sure you're still getting the disc into the power pocket, just your shoulders are slightly closer together while you're doing that. Anyways, that's it for this video. Thank you for watching. This was a really nerdy video. This was like a lot more technical than the other ones that I've put out, so let me know what you think down in the comments. Look out for more videos on how to become a better disc golfer, and always remember, slow is smooth and smooth is far.